All right, hi, welcome to Radio Turku. Big shout to all you Bosankas out there tuning in with us today. We are continuing our municipal candidate series, and today we'll be joined by Theresia.
Welcome, Theresia. I am Temisan. I don't know if you already mentioned your name.
I forgot to mention my name. I'm Petteri. And
Yes, it's nice. It's great. It's great to have you, Theresia, here with us for this podcast series. I will just say little things about you. Of course, you will give you the floor to talk about yourself. But from what we've gathered, Theresia is one prolific person. She has built herself up from the ground up to where she is now. I will just list a few of her achievements that I have just gathered, a lot more than that. She has a PhD in social sciences and she focuses on policy making and implementation. She's also running second time in this municipal election, which is very outstanding to say. And she won firstly last time as the deputy position, and she also has won the Afrofin Academic Achievement Award. And I would say this is not a small feat at all. And we are very, very grateful to have you here. So in that regards, Theresia, would you like to tell us more about yourself?
Thank you very much, Radio Turku, for having me. It's a privilege to be here. Who is Theresia? Theresia is a mother first, a mother of 3 beautiful children, 2 of school age and 1 just turned an adult. Not very good thing to think about now. But yes, so I'm first of all a mother, and then for my day job, I manage a climate project. But in this context that we are speaking, I am just an everyday person in Turku who wanted to make a change, especially to people who look like me, who have similar experiences, even if they don't look like me, who moved to Finland at some point for some reason and are trying to find their place. So what led me to this place is that I wanted to be a voice for these kind of people, because I looked here and I didn't see so many voices for these people. But when you wake up from your bed, from the time you take up your coffee, you are affected by these policies. So there's a need for some voice, someone who understands what it feels like to move to a new country. I didn't want that people who move here face the same things that I face as a student, as a job seeker, as a mother sometimes who needs answers and can't find them because they are not, the answers that are there are not planned for people who move here. So that is who I am in this context.
Thank you for your response. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. And I think you kind of touched about it. And I loved what you said. Was there like a specific moment where you realized that you needed to get into politics?
That's a good question. No, there wasn't. I'll tell a bit of a backstory how I joined politics in the first place. In 2017, yes, I decided I didn't like research anymore after doing the PhD. I wanted to do something that was
I understand
tangible.
that.
And then I started looking at climate issues and sustainability issues, but for me it just felt too big and too far away from my everyday life. And then with this thinking came the opportunity to go and volunteer at COP. I did the application. There were about 2,000 applications.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And for some reason I got in, and I paid my way to go and volunteer, despite that's also another discussion which is interesting, because at that point I was in the employment service system. So despite them saying that this is not for you, we are not going to pay, you are going to lose any money we are giving you if you go for this, I just felt that this is what I want to do this. So I went and got the punishment that comes with it. But when I went there and was there for a week volunteering and listening to all the speeches and all of that, I still felt like something was missing. I felt like, okay, there's all these big discussions, and where is the where's me? Where's the everyday person? But now when they talk, they do all this talking, where does it leave the everyday person? You come back still feeling like, I can't do anything about this. It's hopeless. So when I came back to Turku, I approached the city and asked them what kind of things are they doing here in terms of the environment, and how can I help? How can I be part of it? This discussion took about 2 years, by the way, of back and forth. But finally, I got an opportunity with a language school, and then found an internship. I asked the city if I can come now as an intern, and then I got into the city, and I worked there at the city administration in the climate team. And then after that, after leaving from there, suddenly in 2021, this was during COVID, I get a message from someone. We think you'll be a good election candidate. I have never thought about politics and all of that. I mentor people, but politics, no. I think especially due to where I come from, I didn't see politics as something that I want to be part of. I was not sure that that is something I want to do. So I got this message, and they're like, we think you'll be a good candidate. So I told them, give me some time, I need to think about this one.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
If I could ask a little follow-up question, did you have any interactions with the party beforehand, or was
No.
No.
But they just told me, we like the work you did at the city of Turku, and we think you'll be a good candidate. I know that at the city of Turku, I did the first mapping for the SDGs against the city strategy, and then there were presentations. I did a presentation to the mayor and the city board and such. So maybe that's where it came from, but they just told me, we think that you'll be a good candidate. And then I took my time and finally got interviewed, and that's how it started. And it was COVID.
Okay.
So I couldn't even meet people physically. I didn't know anybody from anywhere. I hated being out there or being on social media, but I started this Wednesdays for Turku kind of series. It was short videos. For instance, I would come online and say, do you know there is this and this in Turku? And the next Wednesday, I would come and tell people about, for instance, the rescue app where you can get food from restaurants.
Love
So
that
such
app.
things.
As a student,
Yeah.
love it. Can highly recommend to
such
anybody watching.
Really low threshold information that is out there, but for most people of immigrant background, they don't even know. So I was doing that like every Wednesday. And then that was my campaign, talking to people, bringing information to people that this is possible and these are the opportunities that are here. And then the results came, and I got the deputy position.
Oh, that's really awesome.
So
That's
that's the story behind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that is very, very impressive story you've mentioned, because amongst immigrant population, there is always this unknown kind of thing going on. People are not so aware of even sometimes some people are not aware of when they can vote. And I think that is very important. Building upon that, I don't know if you wanted to.
Speaking of immigrants voting, I did forget to mention this at the beginning. It's the most important information and why we are doing this series, and I feel so bad I forgot to mention it. But the municipal elections are happening in April, and early voting starts April 2nd, going to 8th. If you're going through the 8th, if you're living here in Finland, and you can vote if you're an EU citizen, if you lived in Finland for 52 days and more, and if you're from a non-EU country, and if you have lived in Finland for 2 years and longer, you can vote. So just so you know, if you want to get involved in making this country a better place for you and your family and your loved ones, get out there and vote. Plug over it. Let's continue with with the interview.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So as I was saying, you have talked about how you've progressed so far, and I think we would like to know what's really you're passionate about changing moving forward, right? For example, what do you see is really lacking that your inputs continue in your your tenure or something like this would bring to people in Turku city here?
For these past 4 years, I have focused on making decision making more open. So communicating it in simple terms and thinking about different groups of people, not just the homogeneous group that policy is used to. So that has been my main focus. And then the second thing that I have focused on is looking at integration in a different light, not just someone comes here, they go into the language school, then they go to internship, then that is it, you're integrated. I think integration should be thought of in a much more long-term and more holistic way, that you don't spend a lot of time sitting in the classroom, because that's not where integration happens.
Yeah.
True.
And I don't think language is something that if they put you in a classroom for 9 months, there is a high motivation to learn. I think there's more motivation if you are put into the society, into the job, into some form of practice, not just in the classroom. And then another thing about integration is taking cognizance of people's backgrounds and cultures. For instance, how you communicate about transport to me, who is coming from this context, and some other person who is coming from it's completely different. You need to think about where they are coming from. Why do they choose to move the way they move? What are the cultural aspects that are behind their behavior? This can also be applied to our interest in politics, for instance. It has a huge bearing on where you come from and your experiences. But usually what the system sees is just you here. Okay, this is Theresia. She doesn't care. She doesn't vote. She doesn't care about the news. She doesn't care about what is happening in Finland. But the question is, where is Theresia coming from? At what stage of life is Theresia? Because as a student, politics for me, I'm sorry to say this, it would have been a luxury. When I was a student in Finland, my goal was study, be able to have a residence permit that you're comfortable with, be able to provide for yourself, and politics is like the number 20 on the list. So it's not the first thing that I expect an international student or an immigrant to be thinking about. So there has to be some active nudging for this group of people if you want them to participate. And then you also have to look at even the immigrants who are quote unquote established here. Are they thriving, or are they just moving from one day to another? Is that even a motivation to think about politics? Do they see people in these spaces that will encourage them that, okay, this is something I can even think about? Because it's one thing to be able to dream, but when you are not able to see any evidence that this dream can even come true, then there's no need to. That's why I believe that's why a lot of people who move here don't even have the interest, because if you look at the city council and it's 67 councillors, and the percentage of immigrants is like 1%, it's very difficult for you to even think about it.
Very much so.
So these are the kind of topics that I have focused on in my time. And in the city council, when you are a deputy, you get to attend the sessions here and there. You get to be able to also be in boards. For instance, I'm a member of the Multicultural Council, which is under the city. What they do is they are the voice of immigrant associations towards the city and the other way around. And then I'm a vice member of the Regional Transport Board. So through those boards, you can make your voice heard. At the city council, you can propose initiatives. I think I have done about 6 of those in my time there.
Oh, wow.
Some related to having political mentoring. Another one related to having a cycling training for immigrant women once in a year. And then another one on improving the city's communication on the websites, whether it is targeting all the groups in the city. But those are 3, and then there are 3 more. So those are the opportunities that you have as a politician or as someone who is in politics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even if you are not making a huge impact in the sense of huge, you are bringing visibility
Yes.
to issues that touch your quote unquote constituency.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting because that's one thing we were talking about bringing
Yeah.
up is like, you know, how like help immigrants like integrate in the community. I like what you said about, you know, kind of giving them a nudge and making sure it's transparent and visible for everybody. And kind of giving your position, how you've, you know, risen to your position, you've worked and you earned your way up there, and you're part of the few people who are on the city council that isn't part of like the homogenous Finnish group.
Yeah.
Maybe what advice would you have for like immigrants who've just come here and, you know, they're having a hard time integrating, getting involved? What advice would you give them? And like, because it can be difficult.
The first thing
Yeah,
I would
actually,
tell
especially now in
anyone
this
as
year.
an immigrant is that don't wait for anybody, because no one will hand it to you. The second thing is information here is not given in a whole. They will give you a teaspoon and wait for you to ask for another drop. So you have to push. Like I told you my experience with the city.
Yeah.
You have to be able to push. A third opportunity is volunteering. What we as immigrants lack when we get here is there are no networks, and Finland is a country of networks. Turku is extremely small. Finland is really small. So it's about people want to know you in person. And most of the networks here have been grown from childhood. Some of them have kindergarten friends. So when you come from outside, it's very difficult to get in. But you can get in by volunteering. You can get in by going to events. It's going to be hard, but this is fruitful.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much of free time I have given in Finland. But as I tell people that I try to mentor, don't just give your free time. Have a plan, have a strategy on how and why you're giving your free time, because there are also opportunities, places where people are used, because they know you're an immigrant, they know you want visibility, they know you want opportunity, so you can also be used when you go out volunteering. So if you go out volunteering, have a plan and have a strategy for. So if you are giving, say, 6 months of volunteering, know why you're giving that 6 months. Don't think only about, okay, I want to get this on my CV. Why are you doing this this 6 months? But that's the biggest advice for me for integration.
Yeah.
There's language, which is obvious, but networking is a very potent weapon.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with
for
that.
integration. Yes.
Yeah.
agree.
So one thing, you know, associated with the Green Party very much is the environment. And one thing we were really curious on was, how do you plan to like convince voters who kind of see the environment as a luxury issue, something that they can be like, well, you know, the planet's heating up, but that's like, what, 10 years from now? How does that affect I mean, like, how does that affect you right now?
Especially if you're jobless.
I mean, it's sad but true.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But the Greens are very, it's a difficult place to be, because the Greens are a very forward and long-term thinking kind of party. But we have evidence of climate change all around us. So that's not
100%.
True.
that's not a difficult thing to do. And if you talk to people also looking at the planet as a globe, not as one continent is there, one this is there, that we are all affected by this. We can see some of the effects already here. And then the Greens are not only about environment, because that's what people think. When you say green, everyone thinks, okay, now they are going to talk about some eco-friendly this and this and this.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But I will talk about why I accepted to be in the Greens, or why I am still there. Because they are one of the parties that have a global perspective. They have a very open perspective about policy. So they are not looking at only at Finland. They are looking at Finland in the world. So it's not just the Greens are not just only about environment. For instance, when now the employment services are moving to the cities from 1st of January. So they are completely now on the responsibility of the cities. In our election program, it's clearly written there that this is an opportunity. That's one thing about the Greens, that we take bold initiative and we look for opportunities. So this is an opportunity for Turku to make itself much more better in these integration issues, much more better in how jobs are procured, much more better in how the city itself employs people. One of the things we want to push is that the city should lead by example, by employing people whose language skill is not at the level that, because the city cannot tell companies, you need to be diverse, you need to take more people from different backgrounds, and then you look at the city organizations and they're homogeneous.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we want to push with this. But there's a huge opportunity, for instance, in that employment services are moving to the cities.
Okay.
Great. I feel there's a lot going on and there's a lot to expect.
Yes,
moving forward.
There is a lot of, it's going to be an interesting next 4 years.
Yeah.
Because there are changes coming, and then the city is turning, it has its birthday in 2029, which is the end of this term.
Okay.
Yes, so there's a big, huge, this next 4 years is going to be interesting.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that response. Mm-hmm. It was very, very explicit. But I was just thinking as you were talking, it was a question that of course would have come earlier, but politics, sometimes it's what we believe, what we want, implementation can be a bit difficult. So what kind of skills do you think you have in political terms that you think would help you in implementing some of these very, very good but difficult changes?
Yes. I think the biggest skill in politics is to be able to listen and to be able to work with people who have a different opinion from you, be able to work across party boundaries as well, not just within your party. Because in the city council, when you propose, for instance, initiatives, you need people to support you. And it doesn't need to be only people from your party. So being able to listen, being able to work with people, even with opposing views, is one. And then being able to do advocacy even out of the city council, because sometimes when you bring initiatives, you should also be able to bring it to the public for it to get the attention that it needs. And one thing that most people do not know, it's not only city councillors who can make a proposal for an initiative. You can do that, you can do that. Every resident in Turku is able to do that. There is a page on the city's website. So for instance, if you, Petteri, decide that the road here, you found some problem on the road here, you can go and propose an initiative. And once a year, there is actually a budget that is set aside to implement one of the citizens' initiatives.
Okay.
So you could be lucky that
know.
you propose something and it ends up actually being funded.
All right, well, that's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I bet a lot of our posankos out there didn't know that either.
So it's not. So that's one way that the city. So there are these things. There are a lot of these instruments that people don't know, and it's even worse for the immigrant background people. They have no idea that they can influence policy like this.
Very true.
Yeah, and then there are these places on the internet where you can give feedback, like immediate feedback. Like you see something, you go and write it there. You just need to log in with your bank details.
Great.
Well, Theresia, I think that covers all the questions we want to ask, but I think we have one more really important. Here at Radio Turku, we are very much a one-issue voter base.
Okay.
Do you think Turku should be capital again of Finland?
Yes.
Is that even a question? I think so. I think that Turku should be the capital of Finland again. I mean, look at Turku. You can't compare that to Helsinki.
Absolutely not. Theresia, thank you so much for your time. And reminder to everyone out there, please go out there and vote.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And the municipal elections are the best opportunity for most immigrants because the other ones, you have to have a citizenship. But for this, we have a high percentage of immigrants who are eligible to vote.
That's a good point. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here once again. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Radio Turku. Suomen Turku.